I know what you're thinking from reading that title. My Dress Up Darling being a feminist masterpiece sounds absurd. This is the series best known for, well, moments like these. What the anime community likes to refer to as fan service. As a result, it's been criticized for what many see as its gratuitous appeal to the male gaze. But, as others have also pointed out, there's something about the show that feels different. When I watched it, I was met with something I found surprisingly progressive, particularly when it comes to gender norms and female empowerment. Which is, of course, ironic because of the blatant sexualization that occurs at the same time. People throw around the term male gaze, but how many of you have actually read what it comes from? I have. Laura Mulvey's 1975 article, Visual Pleasure and Narrative Cinema, is the origin of male gaze, and it outlines exactly what Mulvey thinks qualifies. Are critics right that Marin Kitagawa is the victim of male gaze and flagrant objectification? Or does the show's fan service avoid those pitfalls? The only way to find out is to actually go through Mulvey's paper and see what applies and what doesn't. People have spoken a lot about this series already, but often they either outright dismiss it because of the sexualization, or they praise it while somehow managing to dance around the topic. I want to face it head-on, with a thorough, nuanced look at My Dress Up Darling using actual feminist film theory. My Dress Up Darling features progressive commentary on gender norms, something that comes across immediately with the two leads. Ever since he was a young boy, Gojo has had a deep passion for traditional Japanese dolls called Hina dolls. He loves crafting them, and even when he isn't toiling away at their minute, delicate details, they're still at the forefront of his mind. Unfortunately, he faced bullying at a young age for liking something a boy isn't supposed to, leading him to keep his doll-making skills private. Maureen, on the other hand, is a hardcore otaku who loves ecchi anime and erotic games, the kind you normally associate with men who don't smell very good. In particular, she loves a harem eroge called Slippery Girls 2, or Saint Slippery's Academy for Girls 2, to be precise. It's easy to see Maureen as a ridiculous fantasy for male viewers, a dream girl constructed for the kind of guy that watches a show like this. Admittedly, that was my first impression too. But then, after thinking about it, the only person I know that's played a harem game is a woman. I'm just trying to say this type of person definitely exists. Or maybe that just says something about the type of women that associate with me. Gojo and Maureen both have hobbies traditionally assigned to the opposite gender, but don't treat each other like social outcasts. Instead, they support each other's interests and passions. As Maureen points out, does it really matter if you're a boy or a girl when you like something? It doesn't end there either. The first half of Season 2 is all about cross-dressing. They meet a boy named Amino who cross-dresses female characters, and although they're shocked at first, it's only because of how well he pulls it off. He quickly becomes a friend and a useful source of cosplay info and inspiration for the duo. When he shares the story of how an old girlfriend called him creepy after discovering his feminine wardrobe, both Maureen and Gojo are bothered by how he was treated, and reaffirm that he should be free to like whatever he wants without shame or judgment. It's genuinely really sweet. That's all fine and dandy, but I know you're really here because of Maureen's cosplays, so let's get to that male gaze thing already. In Mulvey's article, the term male gaze actually only appears once. For most of the article, she uses the word scopophilia, which she defines as using another person as an object of sexual stimulation through sight. Mulvey argues that in traditional narrative films dominated by male scopophilia, women serve two main functions. The first is to be looked at, meaning women's bodies are sexualized and displayed in a voyeuristic manner. My Dress Up Darling absolutely does this. A lot. The very nature of the show means that Maureen dresses in revealing costumes, and we see both the preparations and the final results. Even when the conceit of all the outfits being sexy starts to fade away as it continues, life finds a way. You're meant to ogle her body, and anyone making the case that Maureen isn't intended to be looked at this way is wildly off base. But there's also a bit of a wrinkle to it because, as Mulvey states, the presence of a woman is an indispensable element of the spectacle in normal narrative film. Yet her visual presence tends to work against the development of a storyline, to freeze the flow of action in moments of erotic contemplation. Here's where some of the contradictions of My Dress-Up Darling rear their head, because that's kinda not the case here. These moments aren't interruptions that work against the story. They are the story. It's a dress-up show. The narrative unfolds via Maureen's cosplays. That means the whole process. The preparation, the difficulties, the reactions, and any potential wardrobe malfunctions. The show details it all. That's what it's about. So these moments aren't interruptions per se. However, that's also a very charitable take that only goes so far, especially as there are several occasions it happens completely disconnected from her cosplays, which are hard to argue as anything other than gratuitous. So it's not a stretch to say it fits either. Mulvey goes on to explain that women are displayed as erotic object for the characters within the screen, and as erotic object for the spectator. The gaze of the spectators and that of the male characters are neatly combined. This connection between character and spectator is really the heart of Mulvey's paper. And yep, things seem to line up here. Maureen may be the female lead, but Gojo, the male character, is the protagonist. The series starts with his point of view, and although screen time begins to split with Maureen, much more of it is seen through the lens of Gojo. Many of the fan service shots are from Gojo's perspective, or meant to be an extension of it, so he serves as a proxy for an assumed straight male audience. She continues, the male figure cannot be the burden of sexual objectification. Man is reluctant to gaze at his exhibitionist like. There's no equivalent sexualization of Gojo. He just isn't displayed in a voyeuristic way. His body isn't eroticized like Maureen's is. This also holds true. Now, onto the second function Mulvey outlines, to be possessed, meaning women are treated as property, accessory to the male's journey with little to no agency of their own. The split between spectacle and narrative supports the man's role as the active one of forwarding the story, making things happen. Later, she adds that the male character gains control and possession of the woman within the diegesis. By means of identification, the spectator can indirectly possess her too. My Dress-Up Darling is not guilty of this. Not in the slightest, actually. Maureen is never treated as an accessory to Gojo. A vast majority of the time, she's the one forwarding the arcs and controlling the events. The story is pretty light, but she's always an active participant and initiator. Even in scopophilic moments, she's usually the one depicted with power. More often than not, Gojo is the vulnerable one. Maureen's characterized as being confident in her appearance and voluntarily displays it. Maureen clearly has a life beyond Gojo, and close circles of friends we often see her spending time with. Her friends are present far less in Season 1, so I get why this was a criticism at the time, but by the time of Season 2, it's definitely not the case anymore. It's not one of those half-assed cop-outs where even though she has a lot of friends, they only talk about Gojo all the time. 90% of the time, they're talking about cosplays, shared hobbies, and their personal lives. Not a man. And although Gojo is interested in her, he isn't actively pursuing romance with her either. Because of all of this, a spectator projecting onto Gojo doesn't get any control or possession of Maureen at all. If anything, his character defies that male power fantasy. When Maureen points out that she gained a little weight and some of her cosplays no longer fit, Gojo responds by saying he hadn't even noticed, and he immediately offers to make adjustments, acknowledging it as completely normal and even expected. He cares for her when she gets sick, never gets jealous when other men give her attention, and never acts judgmental to her interests. What I'm getting at is, he's kinda the sweetest guy ever. And this might be the perfect time to introduce an important piece of information. The My Dress-Up Darling author, Shinichi Fukuda is a woman. Don't get me wrong, I'm not making the case that anything she writes is inherently feminist since a woman is writing it. It's more that this could present an alternative lens to view the series. In analyzing it through Mulvey's framework, the assumption is that a male creator is depicting the world as they see it, a view shared with a male spectator. But if the creator isn't male, perhaps there's something else going on. After all, Maureen is depicted as the perfect girl, who's confident, beautiful, in control, and has the sweetest, most supportive male partner of all time. Am I saying that Maureen is intended as a self-insert that female spectators can project onto? The reverse of what Mulvey was saying? Maybe. If the author is a woman, I do think that helps legitimize that reading. So, does that mean it more closely aligns with the female gaze then? Well, there's not really one definitive article detailing female gaze like Mulvey's male gaze paper. But Paula Morant's Cohen's What Have Clothes Got to Do With It? Romantic Comedy and the Female Gaze seems appropriate here, given that My Dress Up Darling is a romantic comedy and it's all about clothes. So let's take a look at what she has to say about that genre. Here, women gaze as women, disconnected from a conventional male economy of desire, whether or not a man made the film or a patriarchal perspective informs it. What constitutes the difference is that the plot spectacle hierarchy which Mulvey associates with the male gaze is turned on its head. In romantic comedy, spectacle becomes central and plot secondary. This is a much better way of phrasing what I was trying to get at earlier with how moments of spectacle work in the series. Cohen argues that appealing to the female gaze involves an emphasis on the material spectacle. Shopping, trying on clothes, doing hair and makeup, which are all crucial elements of My Dress Up Darling. She points out how clothes in particular are used as a form of empowerment, even when that traditionally hasn't been the case. High heels, which second-wave feminists condemned as a byproduct of patriarchal oppression, can be the expression of female assertiveness when viewed in the context of these films. That same train of thought can be applied to Maureen's cosplays, right? They may have their roots in objectifying anime or eroge clearly made for a male demographic, but are recontextualized by Maureen as an expression of female assertiveness, for her and for any female spectator. Well, according to Cohen, not exactly. One might initially think that these things are connected to their sexual desirability, but any aficionado of rom-com knows this is not true. Clothes and accessories are rarely seductive or revealing in romantic comedy, and women rarely appear naked. Cohen does highlight exceptions where revealing outfits or nudity isn't meant to titillate, but none of them really apply here. As a result, My Dress Up Darling ends up feeling like a strange mutant hybrid, a Schrodinger's cat that's both male and female gaze at the same time until you open the box. Here's where I'd like to shift back into its commentary on gender roles. See, there's a problem with these papers and many like them, one that lots of critics have already pointed out. Unintentionally, in their analyses, they uphold traditional gender roles about what men and women like and don't like. How women are all about wearing pretty clothes and men just want to look at boobs. My Dress Up Darling, on the other hand, says that men like wearing pretty clothes too, and that women like looking at boobs, gosh darn it. So, is its contradictory nature deliberate then? Is My Dress Up Darling confronting and exposing the limits of what we've previously seen as load-bearing feminist media critique like Mulvey's, while also arguing against Cohen's notion that sexual desirability can't be connected to the female gaze? Is it secretly genius? Am I overthinking this? Have I gone insane? It feels wrong to say the way Maureen is depicted subverts the male gaze, because it definitely doesn't. I mean, come on. But it also doesn't neatly fit into what Mulvey describes either. It's undoubtedly voyeuristic and sexualized, but in no way a male power fantasy at least. It even has a lot of overlap with what Cohen sees as the female gaze. It presents a version of scopophilia where the female character retains agency and control. Except with JUJU. Yeah, so everything I said still applies to Maureen, but she's not the only character in the show. Halfway through the first season, we're introduced to another cosplayer named JUJU, who joins the cast for a brief arc. Her introduction involves an unaware Gojo opening the bathroom door where her naked body is barely covered by a towel. Then she trips and falls, fully exposing her privates to Gojo. How do people minimize this, as if it doesn't call everything else into question? It's such a shame this was ever included. It sticks out like a sore thumb and tarnishes any of the previous nuance in regards to male gaze in the series. Later shots of her play into exactly the kind of voyeuristic looking Mulvey wrote about. The fact that none of the many female characters shown more in Season 2 are treated like this just adds insult to injury. JUJU is uniquely degraded for no reason. So after all that, is My Dress-Up Darling a feminist masterpiece that sets out to challenge our understanding of the male and female gaze? No, probably not. Maybe it's just uneven and non-committal. When you think about it, this video is pretty dang contradictory too. There's actual feminist theory at the center, sure, but I've played into the gaze in the way I've edited it, so whatever I'm arguing has just as many holes and contradictions as the source material. Does that negate the video? Or does that make it a pretty good representation of My Dress-Up Darling, warts and all? Sometimes things don't neatly fit categories or check every single point on a list, but you shouldn't write them off entirely because of it. This series is a celebration of people like Maureen who enjoy things that may be a bit, messy. Even though it's not a feminist masterpiece, there's still something valuable to take away from works like My Dress-Up Darling, or Slippery Girls 2. I did forget to mention one thing that's kinda important. Maureen is a high schooler. For the record, there's nothing feminist about that at all. I just didn't want to lead with it because it kinda destroys the entire discussion. But hopefully this was informative anyway.